Okay, we're live. So I'd like to start this rant by welcoming my two guests that were able to make it, Brawl the Decepticon
Cause Tank.
and Pyrostrata.
Morning.
So today's rant's probably going to be fairly short and sweet. It is about the Dinobots. Being the host, I will start us off. When I was a little kid, I fucking loved the Dinobots. They're dinosaurs, they're robots, they transform. What's not to love about them? But as I matured and started designing more complex storylines, I realized that Grimlock, in particular, was so ridiculously overpowered. I mean, Thundercracker has his joke about, it's irrelevant because Grimlock beat that up. And the sad part is, for a while, that was actually true. He was one of those legendary characters that they would simply drop in as, I don't know if it's pronounced Deus or Deus, but, Deus Ex Machina.
Deus
Ex Machina, and they, boom, the story took a turn and became different. I did like in the G2 continuity, no, not G2 continuity, the Marvel continuity, where his character kind of evolved and he became something of an anti-hero. But he's always sort of been one of those, let's have him just be there just to tip the scales. And I didn't like that. I did like how he was portrayed in Maximum Dinobots and in Spotlight Shockwave, where, they showed him as being, he's not simple-minded, he's just super straightforward and kind of emotional. And so I liked that, but for the most part, the Dinobots have kind of fallen from favor with me. It's too easy to just say, and then the Dinobots showed up.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
The only Dinobot I cared for was General Grimlock in the War Within series from Dreamwave.
Oh, hell yes.
I have always hated the Dinobots. They were just a pointless thing. They were in G1. They were just this dumb, shambling group of dinosaur robots that really didn't have a purpose other than being a walking weapon. Yeah, no. I didn't like them.
Should probably be a saving grace that they can't combine. Oh, wait a second, they did that.
Yeah, what did they call it? The Beast.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, where they don't combine in the conventional sense. They literally break apart and then reassemble.
Ugh.
And he's just a psychotic, mindless berserker.
It's probably for the best that they don't do that. It's also probably for the best that we don't mention that either.
The thing about them, though, is Simon Furman tried to develop them because he was a big fan of Grimlock. He liked the character.
Grimlock was pretty much his signature character. There was a whole lot of noise outwardly, but inwardly, he used all the outward noise as a foil, kind of a way to put people off, to make them think that I don't need to worry about him. He's just a big ass retard.
Yeah.
In fact, there were gears turning in that head of his.
Yeah, like how he was portrayed in Maximum Dinobots.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it when they develop him above the shambling dumbass. Because me personally, I think Grimlock has potential as a character to be something. But every time they try, some back office administrative bullshit just stops the story midstream and it just dies.
Kind of like how they made him brain dead in Who's Afraid of the DJD.
Ugh.
Or, well, not brain dead, but...
No, yeah, he's He's basically withdrawn into himself.
Yeah.
And, well, that's... once again, we're going to go into the bullshit that is Jimmy Bobby.
Yeah.
Damn it, Jimmy
Oh,
Bobby.
Simon, like this character? Let's fuck it up so bad.
Okay, let's... I can't believe I'm going to say this, but let's try to stay away from Jimmy Bobby for this rant.
Yes, please.
I was just going to drop the subject and not bring it up anymore.
We're going to put it in a little box. We're going to lock that little box up. Make sure it's a 3-lock box.
Are we going to send it to Florida?
No, we're not going to send it to Florida. We're going to chain it up, and we're going to put it in that warehouse where they put the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, where the alien carcass was in that ridiculous movie where Indiana survived a nuclear blast in a fucking fridge. But that's another time.
Let's not talk about that either. In fact, we're going to put that in that very same warehouse.
God.
And we're gonna nuke the fault line underneath it so that the whole thing just collapses into the earth.
Anyway, Dinobots. So unfortunately with the Dinobots, they hit that they got caught up in that whole the G1 cartoon having inconsistent backstories because basically had a different writing staff for every episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they, as they've evolved and they've been retconned a couple times based on whatever story they're currently in, there's whether they were built on Earth or whether they were the Lightning Coalition Strike Team or whatever the hell they were called.
Lightning Strike Coalition, which everyone generally agreed was a dumb name except for Grimlock.
Well, yeah, he came up with it. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, the new who's going to be the new Prime thing. Everyone should write in Grimlock.
No.
Grimlock
Yes.
should be the new Prime. There, I said it. Grimlock should be the new Prime. He could go and rip Starscream's crown off and put it on and go, "Me, Grimlock King," and everybody can just have a good time.
He's got to have Snarl, or not Snarl, but Sludge nearby to adjust the crown every so often, like in the Marvel comics.
Yep.
Hang on, boss. Your crown is tilted. Now you look beautiful.
God.
No.
I think the worst depiction of Grimlock that I've personally seen was the G.I. Joe versus Transformers, the IDW series where it looks like a 3-year-old drew it. It looks like a little kid's coloring book. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Where at the end of the
remember, I lost faith in IDW a long time ago and
at
stopped reading them.
the end of that series, the Earth is a giant robot like Primus.
Holy shit.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about now?
No, but it sounds too terrifying to even go and look up.
It's so awful. It is so awful. It's like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's so awful you just can't look away.
I'm going to quote the great Leonard Nimoy when I say this. This is bad comedy.
Yeah. I think the worst G1 depiction of Grimlock was Grimlock's new brain.
Yes.
Yes.
Awful.
Because I, Grimlock, have given you life. Shut up.
I think that was the only...
And
that was
is it
the only other time they let Greg Berger change his voice.
is it me, or does Grimlock sound like Captain Caveman in G1?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Berger plays them both. But the first time I ever heard Grimlock, I saw Captain Caveman. I'm like, what the fuck is this? No.
They're both Stone Age throwbacks. They both prefer bludgeoning things to death. They both prefer melee fights, even when drawing to a distance would be better. So, yeah.
Ugh. No.
I will say this, though. Of all the... Going back to, Spotlight, Shockwave, and whatnot, and Maximum Dinobots, I totally just lost my train of thought. That's happening more and more lately. I'm legitimately worried that I have Alzheimer's. Anyway.
It's either that or you've been spending too much time trying to focus on. God damn it, I'm doing it too.
Must be a vet thing.
Yeah, probably. Exposure to all manner of hazardous chemicals and drinking 17-year-old coffee.
Oh, you guys.
17-hour-old coffee.
Yeah.
Try and stay awake on a 24 on, 24 off watch rotation.
Yep. Anyway, as far as the rest of the Dinobots go, I'd have to say, barring Grimlock, if I actually was like asked, "Hey, who's your favorite Dinobot?" I would have to actually say Swoop.
Me too.
Because his character throughout the entire arc of all Transformers comics has evolved the most. And it wasn't a holistic retcon as he went. He actually personally evolved as a character. He's continuously developed and has revised himself and has picked new paths in life. And I like that.
It was probably the one of the Dinobots that actually had a good start. They concentrated on him because he was like the last of the Dinobots to ever come into existence.
Yeah.
Him and Snarl both.
And being airborne and an Autobot was something that they wanted to focus on quite a bit because the Seekers were a BFD with the Decepticons. So any Autobot, aerial Autobot focused in on.
Yeah, well, that got established in early G1 that a huge tactical advantage that the Decepticons had for millions of years was their ability to fly.
Yeah.
And that's why, while they started off as a small ragtag group, they were able to push the organized Autobot resistance back so far because they had that overwhelming tactical advantage.
Yeah. So any aerial Autobot was really worked with. And I like that. Even though, like I say, I'm not a big fan of the Dinobots, Swoop is my favorite.
Now, can I just say that I'm glad that Thundercracker's not here because we're about to talk about FOC LMNOP.
Pyro, right quick, just did a quick search. Captain Caveman was voiced by Mel Blanc.
Oh, okay.
They do sound alike, though.
Yeah, just a little bit.
They do.
But anyway, so you know the War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron. I forget which one specifically let you play as Grimlock.
Fall of Cybertron.
That was it.
Cybertron.
So that gave an interesting look to it, where it expanded on how Shockwave was involved in their creation. Because I mean, whether you're going with the certain Marvel comics, or you're going with when IDW was good, or you're going with the Cybertron games, Shockwave has been intrinsically linked to the Dinobots and their creation in almost every instance of it.
Yeah.
So I liked that they went with that. I love the what is that meme where it's like an overly cartoonish Shockwave and he's looking at pictures of dinosaurs and then he has a little voice bubble that says, "I'm totally going to torture some Autobots and turn them into these things."
Hang on a sec.
It makes sense that the two are combined, are linked together plot-wise. As far as I'm concerned, it makes sense, especially in when IDW was good verse, i.e. Maximum Dinobots. But I saw them putting that in with the games, and I was really interested in watching that develop, and unfortunately it just didn't happen. It was an amalgam of G1 comic Grimlock and Dreamwave comic Grimlock.
Yeah, just a little
As
bit.
far as like character build was concerned, and once again, it went so far, and just when you get interested, they're like, "Oh no, we're not going to do anything with this anymore."
Yeah.
What?
I did like in the game where Starscream tries to bargain with Grimlock to get him to work for him, and then Grimlock breaks free of his restraints and beats the shit out of him.
Yeah,
That was pretty funny.
yeah. I found the meme you were looking at. It was Shockwave looking at Earth. He sees a T-Rex and is like, I'm going to kidnap some Autobots and turn them into those.
Yeah, that was it. That was funny. Anything where they kind of cartoonishly depict Shockwave as being interested in dinosaurs makes me laugh, because it's like, yeah, kind of. But you know, in the G1 comics, and it was a sub-series, I think. But you know, all the Decepticons and the Autobots that were aboard the Ark were still in stasis lock, and Shockwave came to Earth, and Teletran 1 activated and modified the Dinobots to go and fight him, right? That's how they depicted it?
Yeah.
Because Shockwave was just murdering the shit out of everything on Earth.
Yeah.
As is logical.
Wholesale slaughter is logical.
Wholesale slaughter for the greater good is logical.
For the greater good. Come on, Hot Fuzz.
I was doing a Harry Potter reference, but yeah, that works too.
I haven't watched that as much as I have Hot Fuzz. So.
But
As long as we're talking about Brits, though.
yeah. But then, since we're talking about the Dinobots, we might as well leap into Beast Wars, the actual character Dinobot. He is one of my favorite Transformers characters ever.
As
He was
mine.
awesome.
He had depth. It was more than just simple betrayal that led him to working with the Maximals. He had a personal code of conduct and honor that guided him. And the one time he betrayed it, he agonized over it for the rest of his life.
Yep.
And
And he had
ultimately
one hell of an epic death episode.
Yeah, it's his quote it's one of my favorite lines in all of Transformerdom, is when he realizes that the past can be changed and it will affect the future. And he says, I finally realized that my choices are my own, and how ironic is it that, and I'm paraphrasing, I can't remember the exact quote, how ironic is it that I now find I have no choice at all?
Yeah.
You know, right before he jumps into the valley to save the proto-humans.
That is probably the most pivotal episode of Beast Wars that exists.
Yeah, because he wasn't just blown up, blown away, or vaporized. He was slowly beaten to death by campaigning against the other Predacons. I mean, his death was slow and brutal and awful.
There was a funny moment in that, though.
There was quite a few.
No, I mean, in that one particular episode when Rampage is bearing down on him in his tank mode, the rounds fall into place in his gun. Dinobot grabs Waspinator, jams him right in the gun barrel, and just sits there and watches as Rampage pretty much misfires into Waspinator's face.
Yeah.
I don't care how many times I see Code of Hero, I become emotional.
Happens to us all.
It's just that well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially how he takes out Megatron in that one. Shoves a rock through a stick and then beats him with it.
So
then one of the proto-humans finds it, and
the human race
tool.
has Dinobot to thank for the beginning of weapons engineering.
Yep.
Yeah. Probably also have him to thank for all the sad state of affairs that humanity is in now.
No, that was the baby boomers' fault. Anyway, moving on. His clone, back when they introduced Transmetal 2s, I didn't know how to feel about the clone, and to be perfectly honest. I mean, I've always felt that cloning, like I mock it in my photo comics, but I've always felt that cloning in a serious story is a cheap out.
Yes.
So when they cloned Dinobot, I was like, okay, so he gets a new look, but is it even the same character? But it's not, because it doesn't have Dinobot's spark. It has half of Rampage's.
It was a cheap cop out when they brought the clone back. They reconciled it at the very end.
Yeah, when Rampage died, it made his spark whole and he got his memories back.
Yeah, it reconciled it a little bit, but overall, bringing him back cheapened the character a little bit. It didn't ruin it, but it definitely brought it down a few notches in respectability, and I didn't care for it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't much care for it.
You know what?
Cheap.
What I found interesting about the toys was that the original Dinobot toy and the Transmetal 2 version had almost identical transformation processes.
Don't talk about those toys. Did not like any of them.
Only one of those that I really liked was Rampage.
Yeah. Too bad he had the Beast Wars equivalent of Gold Plastic Syndrome in his hips.
Ugh.
Dinobot?
No, Rampage.
I never had that problem, and I had a Rampage.
Yeah, mine is the actual, where the ball was attached to the actual pelvis, broke off almost immediately.
Wow.
But anyway, getting off topic again. So Dinobot and Beast Wars, again, they gave him... It started off when they first showed him on Earth, and, he called Beast Wars Megatron an idiot. I originally thought, oh, great, this is going to be the Starscream of this series, so let's see what happens. But it wound up being that Pterosaur was the Starscream of the series. And then, technically, Tarantulas, which, by the way, I love the character Tarantulas.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love when he's captured Tigerhawk, and it's, you're insane. So they say. that was great.
That was definitely chewing the scenery on his part.
Yeah, that was some William Shatner level hammery going on for Tarantulas.
Yep. Chat happens.
Yep. But when I saw the first episode, I was like, okay, so they've already established who's what as far as a reproduction of what character. I mean, Cheetor was clearly meant to take the place of Bumblebee. Rhinox was taking the place of Ratchet. Rat Trap kind of had his own place. But you know what I mean? They clearly fell into pre-existing spots for the fans. Oh, okay, so it's like this. But then they kind of changed it up when Dinobot fully joined the Maximals, which I thought for sure, like within 5 episodes, they'd have him betray them and go back to the Predacons.
Yeah, but then they went further with the character and developed his sense of honor.
Yep.
And that kind of washed that thought away. He was a very honorable character.
The proud warrior race guy, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say about it? I loved being a Neo G1er, is what I'm choosing to call it. I loved the G1 tie-ins at the end of Season 2 all the way through Season 3.
Yeah.
Where they, like, my single favorite moment in the entirety of the Beast Wars series was when the Nemesis rose from the ocean. That was fantastic, because the Nemesis in G1 did not get enough screen time. I mean, it took off after the arc and then crashed. And then they lived in its wreckage for a while as one of their bases. It did not get the praise it deserved as the Decepticon flagship.
I am self-admittedly one of the biggest Beast Wars fans on the planet. I absolutely love the show. Everything about it. Sure, it has flaws here and there, but overall, it is one of my favorite incarnations of Transformers. And the funny thing about it is that it really wasn't meant to go anywhere.
No, it was meant just to send the Beast Former toys, make them popular.
Yep.
It was supposed to only have one season. It was supposed to end with everybody's death at the end of season 1. And if you watch all of season 1, you can actually tell where they stopped with the original plot, and they scrapped the rest of it and began on with the lead into seasons 2 and 3.
Huh.
Yeah, that's why Rat Trap's catchphrase is, "We're all gonna die."
Everybody was supposed to
Oh,
die.
we're all gonna die.
1. But about halfway through, the internet was in its infancy at the time, and it had a huge fan following on the internet. And Hasbro and Mainframe, the makers of Beast Wars, were in with it. And they saw great potential to go on with it. And the fans were all in.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the internal workings of what went on with Beast Wars, there was a lot of nods and references to people on the one and only Beast Wars fan page on the internet at the time. Most of the names of sectors used in the second and third seasons of Beast Wars were named after nicknames of fans on the page. There was a lot of internal nods. Every time you saw something printed in Maximal or Predacon, if you have a lot of time on your hands, go ahead and translate that, because it is hilarious. They really do say stuff.
Yeah.
Huh.
I love when
it
editors do
nice.
stuff like that.
A lot of it is cussing.
Nah.
There was a scene, and you really have to catch it, where the Maximal script, it's backwards. You see it like it's in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And if you flip it and translate it, it says, "Fuck you, Ian." Ian was like a producer or a director on the show.
That is literally the TV trope, getting past crap the radar.
Yeah, if you've got a lot of time on your hands and a lexicon, go ahead and translate some of that script. You will laugh your ass off.
Beast Wars went through it's one of the few shows that was constantly under rewrites and actually produced good stuff as a result.
Yep.
Like, I read somewhere that at one point, when they started entertaining the notion of at the end of season 2, when they revealed that it was in fact prehistoric Earth and that the Autobots and Decepticons were still in stasis lock, it was supposed to be revealed originally that Beast Wars Megatron actually carried the spark of the original Megatron.
They scrapped that.
Yeah, they scrapped that early on because they were like, well, he's not really the same character. Even with the notion of him becoming Galvatron and then back to Megatron, it wouldn't work.
I remember Ravage when they revealed him, and he's got Megatron in lockup, as it were. He says something along the lines of, "You bear his name, but not his army."
Yeah. And by the way, that's one thing that I never, ever liked. Ravage with a Russian accent. I get they're going for the foreign intelligence agency feel, but come on.
I thought it worked.
Yeah, same here.
It worked.
I couldn't get behind it. It's funny to me because I like imitating it. You know, covert operative Ravage of Decepticon Secret Police. Oh, okay, good for you. You're Cybertronian, not Russian. Can we drop the accent?
They did a lot of that on Beast Wars. And they continued it on with pretty much every Transformers series after that up until fairly recent. They did it in anime formers. Cybertron was that Thundercracker with the country accent.
Yeah.
He had the drawl going on there that was so pathetically what the fuck fake. But
Well, so was most of that series.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Best accent that I felt came out of the whole Transmetals part of Beast Wars was Quick Strike.
Yeah.
ugh, I hated that character so much.
Well, darnation!
I just thought he was completely useless. He was one of the few later in the series characters that I thought really had no purpose. Rampage, he had a purpose. Depth Charge was actually my favorite Maximal addition.
Yeah.
He was a Maximal, but he wasn't in lockstep behind the Primal.
Yeah, I liked how he was. You could almost describe his character as being a ruthless Ultra Magnus.
Yeah.
Yes.
He can deal with that now.
He was a Maximal, but he wasn't. Because, in animation, you have the good guys are all good. They don't do anything that could be perceived as gray area. And then the bad guys, they're all bad. They're all assholes. There's no middle ground. In Beast Wars, you had a few characters who rode that gray area, and that I liked a lot. And Dinobot was one of them.
Yeah.
He rode that gray area. He wasn't quite the goody two-shoes that you had seen in previous incarnations with the good guys. He was neither good nor bad, really. He just was a well-rounded character.
Yeah. And of course, you get into the shitstorm that is Beast Machines.
Don't go there.
We're going to sidestep that.
Nope.
We're going to sidestep that entirely.
Nope.
Thank you.
Getting back onto the original subject with Dinobot, though, I think the episode with Dinobot that I hated the most was the one where they all got temporarily blinded.
I was thinking of that one just now.
Yeah.
Because he panics and freaks out. And while he's been shown to be hot-blooded and quick-tempered, I can't see him being the one to freak out like that.
Yeah, it just was definitely out of character.
Yeah.
Not one of my favorites. That was in season 1, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot in season 1 that you could give or take, but I give season 1 a pass because of what it was. It was so different than any other Transformers series, any other Transformers incarnation. The season 1 was just feeling itself out, trying to figure out, are people going to like this? Are they going to accept this? It was the first Transformers series that did not have Optimus Prime, and it really didn't have a recognizable Megatron.
It was unconventional, to say the least.
It was completely unconventional. They were just trying to figure out what, are the fans going to accept this? And partway through season 1, they got their answer. And they removed the stops.
It's better than what it was originally going to be, with Optimus Prime and Megatron being bats and alligators.
Yes. Yes. And if you watch seasons 1, 2, and 3 all together, you can actually see the progression where the first half of the first season kind of pussyfoots around. It introduces you to the characters, but it doesn't really build anything. It just kind of is just there. Then about halfway through, then the building starts.
You know who was a wasted character who started off great and they wound up wasting him?
Who?
Inferno.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Defend the colony.
He started off as Megatron's right-hand clenched fist thug, and then right at the beginning of season 2, he did a complete switch over to being comic relief.
For the royalty, you must burn!
Yeah, like at the end of season 1, when the spiders invade the Ark and he follows after them, he was following his mission. He was doggedly determined. He didn't care what they were trying to accomplish. He was doing what he was told by Megatron, and he was brutally efficient with it. He burned tarantulas to death. And then right at the first episode or the second episode of season
hang on.
of season 2, he and Megatron crash into each other and temporarily swap heads for the sake of a sight gag.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But, they really didn't completely abandon the worth of the character, because he still did do things, important things. The comic relief wasn't constant like it was with Waspinator.
Yeah.
No.
I did not like Waspinator as a character. However, I did like the comic relief that Waspinator was.
How can you not like Waspinator? He has plans.
And yet the universe hates Waspinator, so...
In the overall picture, he really didn't fit, other than like the comic relief guy. But god damn it, he was funny.
Yeah.
Again, this was pretty much 22 minutes of Scott McNeil talking to himself.
That was Beast Wars. It was the Scott McNeil show, and
it was funniest to me right at the very end, when after they leave to go back to Cybertron, and then it does a cut back to Earth, and they're using the dead throwaway Predacon parts as instruments and whatnot, the proto-humans, and then they move the Leaf fans, and there's Waspinator drinking what appears to be a cup of wine. Waspinator finally happy.
Yeah, it was fitting. I love Beast Wars.
Yeah.
I really do. And for all the detractors and G1 purists and whatnot, you're missing out. You really are.
You know what I could not stand, though? The toy and the comics he's featured in? Megamatron.
Ugh.
That was so weird. I love any Combiner or Gestalt toy, typically, but he was so weird.
Oh, he was made up of 3 others, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a plesiosaur, a T-Rex allosaur looking thing, and a pterodactyl became his head.
That was actually Giganotosaurus.
Whatever. Sauropod of some kind.
No, the T-Rex looking thing was a Giganotosaurus.
Ah, okay.
The South American Tyrannosaurid, actually Charcharodontosaurid. Larger than the T-Rex, but it didn't have the same bite pressure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they went a little overboard in a lot of the non-cartoon, more comic book with the dinosaur-like characters.
I mean, like I actually like the three-way combiner Tripredacus.
Ugh.
I actually like that because I used to think, well, how in the hell could they possibly do a combiner in this series with how organic everything looks? And I thought, well, maybe they'll do it with the transmetals because they're more purely machine looking. But then they did the Tripredacus, and I used to have that toy, and while it was a bitch to get him together, he actually looked pretty decent. But one of my friends had Magmatron, and he was like, dude, awful. Awful. Like, he took it out of the box once, put it together, took it back apart, put it back in the box, and then put the box in the closet. He was like, it doesn't even look good.
I never got into the toys.
I've got two of them right now.
I was never one for the animals to robot thing.
I was a huge fan of the toys, and that is part of why I hate Beast Machines so much. It's because Beast Machines, half of their toy line was recolored Beast Wars toys, but they were lower quality.
Yeah.
Like, if you got Transmetal 2, I have a perfect example from real life here. The Transmetal 2 toy for Pterosaur, while it was small and somewhat simple, was actually a decent toy. It had good joints. It was fairly well balanced, could stand on its own okay. But they recolored it to be a Maximal in Beast Machines. And that fucking thing fell over if you looked at it. And its arms popped off, and its wings popped off, and its legs went loose almost instantly. I mean, they just straight up abandoned the notion of toy quality for that series. They were more concerned with putting them out faster than they were with how good they were.
We see. Yep. Let me back up. When I said that I was a fan of Beast Wars, I am, but I did not become a fan of Beast Wars until the show was off the air. Almost 15 years.
Mm.
Wow.
So when it first came out, I hated it because I was indeed a G1 purist at the time. And the toys, to me, were terrible. But
the Megatron toy has a water squirter in the dinosaur head.
I didn't care. It was dumb.
But Megatron has a rubber duck.
No. And he brushed his teeth. No.
God, those were so awesome when he'd be brushing the dinosaur head's teeth.
Yes.
I love how if people ask him to, David Kaye will sing the Rubber Ducky song in Megatron's voice.
Yes. Even to this day, if you go to a convention and David Kaye is there, people will still ask him to do, air quotes, the voice.
Yeah.
The show has been off the air since, what, 1994, 95?
Yeah.
And people are still in love with the voice.
I mean, for me, because he's a different Megatron, he's not the same character, I love the Beast Wars Megatron voice. Most of the time, any time they try to rehash G1 Megatron, I'm like, that's the wrong voice. It needs to be that angry raspiness. But with Beast Wars Megatron, I love that voice.
Yeah.
Well, when I first saw it, when Beast Wars first started, that was the reason why I turned it off. When I heard Megatron speak, it was so offensive to me because Frank Welker was Megatron in my head. He was Megatron in my heart. He was Megatron.
Yeah, it went from that quiet raspiness to a deep baritone.
And I heard that voice, I'm like, nope. But then when I got into it, and I found out that Beast Wars Megatron was not G1 Megatron, then I was it was more able to get into it. And then you find out that his real name wasn't Megatron. It was the name that he took after he had read the Covenant of Primus and started his plans to steal the golden disc from oh my god, what was his leader? Yes.
Cryotech.
And he
Cryotech,
took the
wasn't it?
name Megatron to accrue an army in order to steal the golden disc and steal the transwarp craft from Cybertron. That I thought was brilliant. And now the question that has been plaguing the ages regarding Beast Wars Megatron, what was his real name? No one knows. Reason?
I'm gonna
They
say
never made one.
I'm gonna say Mike. He looks like a Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
I
never
think he looks
made
like a
one.
Joe.
It was just never considered. They left it a mystery on purpose. Which works. I'm good with that.
I would
I'm
love.
fine.
Yeah.
Let it play the ages forever.
I love when he pontificates.
It's great.
When he gives his epic speeches, and not like the stuff that would end with comedy relief, like when he shoots Optimus Prime in the face, where he gives his speech of "This is long time coming for those who would make us slaves." That is, when he says, "I walk these hallowed halls, now a conqueror." That is so
my favorite.
It's so epic.
It's so
to say that.
Shakespeare. It's completely Shakespeare.
Or
It comes off to me as like a Shakespearean theatrical speech, and all of his speeches really come off like that.
I love when he's quoting at the end of the series when he's quoting from the Covenant of Primus, and a Dinobot clone asks him, "You've read the Covenant of Primus already?
Only the
Just
good
the good parts."
Yeah, David K. really came to play when he took that character. He built that character. It was not the original Megatron, and when that came to be known, he was able to just run with it. Just do whatever because he could. There was no fettering his creativity when it came to building that character. And 90% of the dialogue from Beast Wars was ad-libbed.
Yeah.
They were just given a basic synopsis of the series in the voice room, and they just went with whatever. They just did whatever they thought. It flowed so well. The voice actors worked so well together. You could tell that they were all friends. The dichotomy was impeccable.
It seemed like the voice actors for Dinobot and Rat Trap wanted to kill each other sometimes, though.
Well, yeah, too bad it's the same guy.
But that's got to be some whole other kind of level of self-loathing.
Yeah.
All right, well, typical for a rant, we have strayed far from the original path.
Oh, yeah.
There was one Grimlock that I wanted to bring up. I can't remember if what you had said on it before, but there was one G.I. Joe versus Transformers that had been done. I think it was a Dreamwave production. It said it in 1938, and Cobra was pretty much Nazi Germany taking over Europe, and they stumbled across the Ark on the Faroe Islands and accidentally activated it. Grimlock in that one, his alt mode was a tank, although they seem to have a trouble deciding what kind in each time you see him. Like from an isometric rear view, he looked like an M4E8 EZ8 Sherman. Sometimes from the side and top down, he looked like a King Tiger. At least 2 times, though, he looked like an M1A1 Abrams. Although there was one instance in which part of him looked like it came off of a Jeb Stuart light tank.
So, cuz Grimlock.
Yeah, because Grimlock tank.
And the thing about Grimlock that bothers me the most is the fandom. The people have taken this character out of the realm of what he's been set in comics and animation and taken it so far to the realm of like what Thundercracker discusses.
Yeah.
That he can beat up everything and anything. There is nothing that can defeat Grimlock.
Don't get me started on RID 2016 Grimlock.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is patent bullshit.
Well, I used to make the joke whenever, Thundercracker does his like for this, comment for that, leap into the sun for this. I used to categorically, I can't talk today.
Categorically.
Thank you. I used to constantly comment, irrelevant, Grimlock already beat those choices up. And because that was the joke, because like there's a certain level to where you can go, okay, yes, within this universe, this Grimlock has survived this. Like in the G1 cartoon, Grimlock survived having Trypticon fall on him. That's no small feat. But at the same time, to be perfectly honest, if you take all the hype away, I'm pretty sure Omega Supreme could kill Grimlock with a single shot from his plasma cannon.
Yeah.
Very possible.
However, Trypticon could totally easily kill Omega Supreme because Trypticon is a full-on Titan. So, I mean, does it become a rock, paper, scissors thing? Or what? I don't know how the hell you...
I have no idea.
I just wish that people would use a little tiny bit of common sense. I realize, there's a huge suspension of disbelief on the whole concept. I get that. But come on. You got to insert a little bit of logic in there. Grimlock is not indestructible. He can be beaten. He can be defeated. He can die.
I played with that concept of Grimlock being able to be beaten once in one of my older photo comics, in which the Autobots are battling the Decepticons, and Prime tells Grimlock to destroy the Decepticons, and Barricade turns around and he tells Brawl and Bone Crusher to do that thing they talked about. It was a fan combination that I found on YouTube. Somebody had combined movie Bone Crusher and movie Brawl into a horrendous-looking, absolutely hideous machine. And it is so horrifyingly irksome that Grimlock starts talking properly and tells Prime straight out, I didn't sign up for this shit. Fuck you guys. I'm out. And as he's walking away in his T-Rex mode, he screams back at them, you guys are on your own.
Yeah, I just... fandom, stop it.
Fandom is more like it.
Stop.
Well, and now in IDW they're doing now in IDW they've done all that shit where they've said that there's the naturally stronger Transformers, the .01ers or whatever they call them.
0.01 percenters.
Yeah, and Grimlock is one of those.
No.
So he's just naturally stronger.
I'm closing the IDW sucks box and I'm putting it back in that warehouse. We're not going there.
You could always burn the warehouse down,
I could.
Entonces, ¿por qué no?
The Ark of the Covenant is in there. I don't want to destroy that.
Go ahead and destroy it. I'm not Jewish. I'm
Plus,
Catholic.
that's where the Disney Vault is. Do you really want to destroy all that old-fashioned family race?
No, there's some cool shit in that warehouse.
All right, we're going to have to raid that warehouse, pick what we want, and then leave. Burn the rest.
I'm pretty sure they have the Lance of Longinus in there.
Dibs.
All right, well,
What
uh,
is
The chalice of Christ.
the Grail?
Yeah, I'm going to drink booze from that.
Cheap booze.
I'm going to hell for that one.
well, in theory, couldn't you just bleed into it?
Mother of God.
Only the blood of Christ.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
I think we can successfully call that a rant.
Yep.
yeah, did we ever rant?
It was the rantiest of rants.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you both for showing up, Brawl the Decepticon
Guz Tank.
and Pyrostrata.
It was fun as usual.
For the three of you who will watch this, and that's the three of us that are here right now. Thanks for watching.